Hello and welcome to another Travel Risk Management Health, Safety and Security Advisory Tip. My name's Tony Ridley, Editor-in-Chief at TravelRiskManagementSolutions.com. Travel safety, as it applies to the individual, and certainly when we're talking safety, we are talking in with humans and personnel and so on, rather than the security-related tips which we address and we compartmentalise and segment that away from safety. But the safety of the individual, whilst there's significant legislation under the International Labour Organisation and a number of evolving mandates which ensures individuals and companies are to be afforded the best or the lowest risk work environment, things as low as practicable and those sorts of things, key terminology. But the safety of the individual is a disconnect. In many instances, we see workplace environments, for example, where the operation of machinery, the induction of a location, heights, trips, falls, all of those sorts of things associated to a managed work environment, remembering not to go overboard, and some legislation in some countries is to the extreme, or it could be deemed as excessive by the majority of international opinions. However, the safety applied to travel is often not addressed, and some of these key elements include fatigue. So, for example, if an individual has had to leave early from their place of domicile, they've had to commute to an airport where they've had to wait for many hours to actually check in and board an aircraft, which is again not uncommon. Then they've taken a significant flight, and depending on the class and the constitution of the flight, they've then been fatigued, they've arrived in the location, and then they're going to self-drive. Or there's an expectation that they will then work, or they will make critical decisions. Again, this is a key safety factor. It's both preventable, it's identifiable, but it's often overlooked, or people turn a blind eye. In general, safety as it applies to business or travel in any sense is often overlooked. So it's the simple basic elements such as safety, things like dehydration, things like all of the associated contaminants, viruses, those sorts of things. Remembering that nobody on that plane, or collectively nobody has had a health check, so there could be all sorts of contaminants. And whilst airlines and a number of providers do their best to preserve people's safety or health to a degree, it's not always guaranteed, and there are many instances where everything from food, water, and so on has contributed to individuals' affected safety. So even things like transport, as I mentioned before, so public transport, self-drive, has the vehicle been maintained? Is the driving standards in the country the same? Have they got experience on the left or right-hand side of the road? All of these things are identifiable and should contribute to the overall safety program. Are they male or female? Do they have disabilities? All these sorts of things factor into it, inclusive of their accommodation. Is the accommodation known to have safety faults? Electrical wiring, trips and hazards in the bath. Many hotels, as a frequent traveller myself, I can tell you the utilisation of the shower and the hot and cold water taps is not universal, and in many instances can actually cause significant burns and injuries to individuals. Again, these sorts of things, or the above overbath showers, slippery and small, all these sorts of things need to contribute. Now, I'm not talking about being excessive and granular and going to the nth degree for every little thing to wrap people in cotton wool, not at all. But certainly when it comes to travel safety per se, very few organisations and individuals are consistent with their approach. That is, that their fixed workplace employment safety is certainly not consistent with their mobile and their travel safety. So, in order to address that, it should be an all-encompassing, which covers both the point of working, point of employment, or conducting an undertaking, whatever the terminology may be, and it should be consistent and extended to the act and the activity of travel for business. So once again, thanks very much for joining us for another Travel Risk Management Health, Safety and Security Advisory Tip. My name's Tony Ridley, and for more information and videos on this subject, please visit the website at www.travelriskmanagementsolutions.com. Thank you, goodbye.